Peter, I am going to answer your question, but before then, I want us to stick to the discussion. I have been able to tell you that the incident of crucifixion cannot be from the word of God, because I said the four writers of the Gospels, they have given us conflicting information as regards the inscription written on top of the cross. Do you believe that God should be God is somebody who is consistent in whatever is?
Your question is,
do you agree God cannot contradict himself?
yeah, but the message of the event of crucifixion, it's interconnected on so many different levels in the Old Testament.
No, I am not talking. We are going to get to that, but let us stick to what the information we have in the New Testament. I want to ask you, when the writers of the four Gospels, they told us that Jesus was put on the cross, and they told us that there was some inscription written on top of the cross. Can you tell us what the inscription is? Because the four of them, they wrote different things that were written on the inscription. Which of them is true? That's the question.
The inscription were the king of the Jews.
Oh, the inscription is the king of the Jews.
Right.
That means that you agree with what Mark said and you disagree with what Matthew, Luke, and John said. Because according to Matthew, he said what was written was, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews."
Yes.
So was it "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews" that was written, or just the King of the Jews? That is the question. Mr. Peter, can you answer my question, please?
Whether he was the king of the Jews? That's your question?
I am asking you, what was written? You said what was written on the inscription was the King of the Jews. If that was what was written, I am telling you, it means that we should not believe Matthew, Luke, and John. Is that correct? Because what they wrote what they gave us, that the inscription written, is different from what you said.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
No, it is what I am writing in the book of. Look at what you said. You said what was written is the King of the Jews, and that can be found in the book of Mark, chapter 15, verse 26. But when you go to Matthew says, no, what was written was, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews."
Okay.
So which one was written? What was exactly written?
Yeah, but what are you trying to say? That one is lying?
Of course, one is lying, or all of them are lying.
No, you see, you know how you can tell if someone is telling the truth? If I were to ask you the question,
Tell me.
When one is telling a story, if the story is identical word to word, then you'll know the person who's telling you the story is lying. Everyone has a way. There were certain of them who were at the scene, and certain of them were not at the scene. There was only John who was at the scene, and mother of Christ, she was at the scene. The story, when one is telling the story, it's not photocopying, it's not copying.
Fine. I like the last statement you use. You know, yeah. If they told us that people were saying the King of the Jews, or this is the King of the Jews, I would agree with you. But what they told us was that an inscription was written. And the inscription, there were not four, it's just one inscription. The question is, what exactly was written on the inscription? I agree with you, definitely based on their narration. actually there was an inscription written. I agree with you because all of them says that inscription were written. But the question is this: what was written? Because you are claiming that this is the word of God, and the word of God must be consistent, that this it should not contradict. So I need to know what exactly was written. Look at, if you can see my cap, if you are watching me via my YouTube, Shakir.com, on my cap, I have Connect with Islam. If I ask somebody to rate this thing for me, if he should read to me and say, this is Connect with Islam, I will say the person is wrong. Because what is written is Connect with Islam.
I'll tell you. I'll read it. I'll get back to you in a second.
Okay, thank you. Before I thank you for that, you get